Hey, what's up guys? I'm Theo Joe, and in this video I'm going to teach you how you can get a faster internet speed that you're currently paying for without paying anything extra, no matter what internet company you have. I'm going to show you what you need, how to do it, and why it works. So stay tuned. I'm sure you're going to be surprised at how easy this really is. We're basically going to take advantage of how your internet company sets the speed limit for your connection and then remove that limit. In most cases, this will mean that you will get the fastest internet speed possible that your ISP offers without paying anything. Let me explain. You see, this is how your internet company sets your connection speed. When you buy an internet plan, the company will mark your account for whatever speed you bought, of course. Then, once your router and modem are set up, they will send a signal to that equipment called an account setup ping, and this contains information about your account. Your modem then saves this information because it's required to be able to connect to your ISP. That's why whenever you get a new modem, you usually have to call your ISP for them to send a refresh signal for it to work again. This first message sent to your modem contains data on what internet speed you should have so that your router doesn't request more bandwidth than what you're actually paying for. So then anytime you go to use the internet to download a file or anything like that, your router sends another signal to the ISP requesting the file at whatever speed you're paying for. And this is called a speed pulse signal. And this signal is essentially a simple standing wave, and how it works is the internet speed is actually determined by the amplitude of this signal. Now that all sounds complicated, but all you need to know is that if you amplify the speed pulse signal, your ISP is going to give you more bandwidth and therefore a faster internet speed. Now, of course, your router is supposed to send the correct signal from when it was first configured with your account. But here's the secret. We can actually amplify the speed pulse signal ourselves. So that means that if we were able to amplify and max out the speed pulse signal, we would get the maximum internet speed capable of the ISP, so you're essentially tricking the ISP system into giving you your maximum bandwidth. So now that you understand how your internet speed is determined, you may be wondering how we can amplify that speed pulse signal so that we can get the faster internet speed. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you in this video. Now you're only going to need a couple things. First of all, some electrical tape, any kind will do, and also 2 rechargeable AA batteries. Used correctly, these will be able to amplify the speed pulse signal and max out your connection speed. As usual, I'm going to go into the science behind all this and all the technical aspects, but if you want to get right into the tutorial, you can just skip ahead, that's fine. So now let's get into the cool science stuff and explain why this works. You see, the speed pulse signal is first generated in the router and then sent to the modem. The frequency is going to change depending on your ISP, and it really doesn't matter. All we need to do is be able to somehow amplify the speed pulse signal at some point between the router and the modem, so then it will be automatically forwarded to the ISP to initiate the file transfer at the additional amplitude. With a little bit of physics knowledge, it's really not that difficult to figure out how we can do this. We're going to use the batteries to create a type of transformer that will step up the voltage of the signal. And no, I don't mean transformers like the movie, I mean an electrical transformer. Transformers look like this. They're essentially 2 coils of wire that sit next to each other, but they have very interesting properties. Depending on how many turns are in each coil, we can use a transformer to either increase or decrease the voltage in a circuit. This can be calculated by the following equation. The voltage in the secondary coil divided by the voltage in the primary coil equals number of turns in the secondary coil divided by the number of turns in the primary coil. So for example, if there are twice as many turns in the second coil as the first, you're going to get twice the voltage. Let me show you. If we have any voltage X and we have 1 turn in the primary coil and 3 in the second, if we solve for the voltage in the second coil, it will be 3 times X. So we use this very simple transformer to multiply the voltage by 3. This works through what's called magnetic induction. As any current passes through a wire, it's going to create a magnetic field. And if you put a changing magnetic field next to another wire, it will induce a voltage in that wire. So in the case of a transformer, we're essentially wrapping a coil of wire around itself multiple times so that the magnetic field induces a voltage onto each turn of the coil as if it were its own wire, so it's multiplied by the number of turns. So in layman's terms, we're basically double dipping on the voltage induction so that we can get a higher voltage than what we put in. Now the amplitude of the signal that I was talking about before is the same as the voltage. If we amplify that and step up the voltage, it's going to max out the connection, which means that the ISP is going to give us the maximum internet speed it can. Finally, to make it easier to amplify the signal, we're going to use the two batteries as the transformer cores. This is going to simply augment the amplification by adding extra electromagnetic field strength. Now, no matter how complicated this sounds, it's going to be way easier to understand once I show you, and I'm sure plenty of you are eager to get started, so let me go and show you what you have to do. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is find your router and modem. This is going to be different for every internet service provider, but you should be able to figure it out. As you can see, this is my router, and then in here, don't mind the mess, is my modem, which actually goes to my ISP's fiber line, but for you, it might go to a cable modem that hooks up your cable. It doesn't really matter. All we need to worry about is the cable that goes between your router and your modem, and then you want to just unhook that. Alright, so you just want to unplug the wire that goes between your router and your modem. If you don't have that, if you have one of those combination router modems, you want to unplug the wire between the computer and the router modem. Also, you want to make sure to only touch the Ethernet cable. Be careful, because if you have fiber lines like in there, they're very delicate, and if you break them, they're a pain to replace. So let's head on to the next step. Alright, so once you have the Ethernet cable, the electrical tape, and the batteries, this is what we need to do. We're essentially going to coil the wire around the batteries in such a specific way as to amplify the signal. So first thing you want to do is cover the battery terminals with the tape, because we don't want them touching at all. It's really just to be safe, also so no electricity escapes and dampens the signal at all. Okay, so once the battery terminals are taped off, next you're going to want to get a big piece of tape ready so we can secure it once we coil the wire correctly. So just tear that off, lay it aside. And now what you want to do is find about the middle of the cable. It doesn't really matter exactly where, just to have enough space. And you want to wrap once around this battery. And once you do that, just once, we're going to tape this off to make sure that it stays in position. And this should be enough to keep it like that. And that's the first one. Now for the second battery, we're going to do the same thing, except a little bit different. So get another long piece of tape ready. And then we're going to wrap it 4 times this time. But it has to be as close to this other battery as possible. So 1, 2, 3, fourth one might be difficult, 4. Okay. And now we can tape that up, make sure it's all secure. Make sure the wires are coiled as tightly as possible. Then, once we do this, we can tape the batteries just a little bit to keep them parallel, just like this. So this is it. It looks weird, but if you watched my science explanation, this is going to look very familiar. Essentially, the signal comes into the first coil, and it creates an electromagnetic field through the battery, and then by the time it gets to the second coil, that's where it's amplified by that same electromagnetic field through induction, and when it exits, it's going to be at a higher voltage, higher amplification than when it came in through this makeshift transformer we created here. So by the time it gets through this whole contraption, the signal is going to be maxed out, so the ISP is not going to limit your speed, it's going to give you the maximum speed possible. So now we can go and hook it back up and see what happens. Alright, so now we have this really weird looking cable, and we're going to put it right back where it was before, and the only thing you really need to know is that the side with the single coil needs to go towards the router, and the side with the 3 coils needs to go towards the ISP, down the line towards your ISP, so to speak. So I'm going to plug this side with the 3 coils into the modem, and then I'm going to put this side into the router. So once you do that, let's go and test it out and do a speed test. Okay, so let's do a quick preliminary test on speedtest.net without the special cable at all and see what I get just as a quick test. And it looks like it's going to be between 90 and 100 megabits. That's pretty typical. I pay for 100 megabit internet, So that's exactly what I would expect. And the upload speed should be pretty similar once that starts. It's 100 megabit up and down. Let's find out what the upload speed looks like. And it still looks like it's going to top out maybe in the 80s, maybe 90s. I almost never get the full 100 megabit. So pretty typical. We can only hope that it'll be faster in the special cable test. I know that my ISP does offer gigabit, so hopefully in that next test it'll be faster. So why don't we go change the cable out and see what it does. Alright, so let's run this test again. And oh my god, this is awesome. Okay, so as you can see, this cable unlocked the maximum speed for what my ISP offers, which is obviously gigabit internet. I couldn't have even hoped for this kind of speed, but I guess that speed pulse signal was amplified and maxed out, and now I have the maximum speed available by my ISP. So I'm definitely going to enjoy this gigabit internet from now on. Alright, so obviously this is pretty amazing what you can accomplish with just a couple of batteries, and I can't imagine that ISPs are going to be able to patch this anytime soon. It would mean they would have to completely change how their networks function. So enjoy this, and hopefully it works for you as well. So why don't you guys let us know down in the comments what kind of internet speed you were able to get, and maybe your ISP as well. It should be interesting to see. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to also give it a thumbs up so I know you liked it. If you want to keep watching, I've got some other tutorials on the right-hand side. You can just click those or look in the description for the same link like if you're on a phone. And if you want to subscribe, I make new videos at least Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so I think it should be worth it. I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys, so thanks for watching. I will see you next time. Have a good one.